4th of Tammuz, Dalet Tammuz, marks the Hilula of a famous Tunisian rabbi. His name was Rabbi Farajalla Seroussi, Zecher Tzadik Libracha. Now, I'm not too sure the date he was actually born, but it's reported that he passed away in the year 1911. It's chronicled over. He was a great rabbi. It was the 4th of Tammuz, naturally, of that year. We're talking about 114 years ago, here from time of recording, here in the year 2025. Now, being from Tunisia, remember Tunisia at the end of the 1800s, early 1900s, was a main tourist center, let's just say, especially in North Africa. I believe his father was also a great rabbi. His father's name was Rabbi Seroussi, and they were from the area of Gabs in Tunisia, a really great place, which was one of the main centers, along with Jerba and Tunis, within regards to Torah study and Torah flourishing over there. Now, while he was growing up, he was imbued in Torah and in mitzvot, and he was very close to, Rabbi Farajalla, who was arguably one of the great rabbis there at that point in time. I think he happened to have been the head of the Jewish court, the Ab Din, as they say in Hebrew, and the rabbi of the city. So he would really get influenced in a tremendous way within regards to his brilliance. He was a very diligent learner, Rabbi Farajalla was, and he was a sopher. He was able to read. He had a quickness, a sharpness to him, and had a huge amount of wisdom. He was also close with another famous rabbi we've spoken about on various occasions in the series, Rabbi Chaim Khoury, who was one of the great Tunisian rabbis, especially of that specific era in of itself. I think he was rabbi of Gabs also, we have to point out. So absolutely phenomenal. We've already... He was later, after I believe Rabbi Alush was the head rabbi of Gabs, it was Rabbi Khoury. There was a troublesome time in Tunisia at that point in time, especially in that specific vicinity. Various different issues came about on various different circumferences, and I think financially also for everyone at that stage in time. And there was, unfortunately, he went through, it's reported, over some misfortunes himself had surrounded him, and there was difficulties. Just in the whole vicinity in of itself. We've spoken also maybe within regards to, wealth-wise in Tunisia, anti-Semitism-wise, and it was a tough time period. Now, he would get married, I believe his wife's name was Marat Amima, and I think they actually she came from Rav Shmuel HaKohen, very great rabbi. He was, I think, once again, a head of Jewish court in Tunisia. I think, if I'm not mistaken, tracing back, he was the head of Jewish court between the years 1718 to 1738. So she really came from a lot of yichus from the 200 years previously, which is absolutely phenomenal. So the amount of yichus he came into was absolutely incredible. Like many of the rabbis at that stage in time would marry other women that would come from great rabbinic families. It was very, very, let's just say, was very common in that specific time lifeline in of itself. So that's interesting. Now, I think he passed away, as I said before, on the 4th of Tammuz in the year 1911. It was 114 years ago, here from the time of recording. So, so that's very, very interesting also. Now, I think after he passed away, it was very some of his writings were actually discovered, I think in manuscript form. Come out the year 1919. It came out in Jerba. I think a Torah work called the Sefer HaChayim was actually printed at that stage in time. The Sefer HaChayim was a book of life, as we say in English. It's initiated by Rabbi Chaim Khoury, and it was edited by another great rabbi from Tunisia, Rabbi Shaul Mekikatz Sheli, with the assistance of his brother, I think Rav Kamos, Ben Sorori, Said Sorori, if I'm not mistaken. They would actually author this book, and also his son-in-law's name was Rabbi Chai Ben Benjamin Srossi. Really great rabbis, if I'm not mistaken. I think, that was his. They would all come out with a book, a Torah colossal book, in his, let's just say, with his writings, his manuscript in of itself. Now, I think from the Sefer Chaim, respectively, on page number 18, we'll look at some of the teachings of his that was actually printed in this Torah work. I think it was actually printed from the Tzioni publishing house, actually through Rabbi David Idan, one of the great rabbis of Jerba, but also the Idan rabbinic dynasty we've spoken about on various occasions before. I think this book printed in 1919. We'll learn a few of the teachings from this book, including one of his teachings is Melamed she'ya'amis al matzcho להתייגע כצוח על המיש La'amik b'Torah. This is one of his teachings of Rabbi Farajalla Seroussi. Another teaching of his, of Rabbi Farajalla Seroussi, I think in one of the pages over there from this book was, I think from Daf Mem Hey, page number 45, was Melamed Remez, Kadosh Hashem Tzvaot, Shabait Shlishi, Ein Bo Lo Pasik Velo Tabir. This is another one of his teachings. I'm using the Hayomi website, which we use very often here on this series, within regards to the tidbits of the book. Another tidbit that very much featured, I think, on the second page of Sefer Chaim of his book, is Melamed Shehane Machane El Yeh Ben Shalom. As alidei zeh dodecha ba legalecha. It's another teaching, and just one last, two more teachings from this book. Melamed shakol kol Yaakov az notrikon Esav va'oivim osim shalom. This is from the Sefer Chaim, now on page number 6, featured over there. And one last teaching over here. Melamed divrei Boaz al lev rut lenechama mochubad ol galut hamar hazeh. This is very much featured, I think, once again, page number 6 on Amud Aleph inside this book. It's in 1919. Actually, I think it's interesting. I can actually see on the website itself, there's a picture of the Sefer Chaim. It was printed, I think, in Java, I think through the Ateret, if I'm not mistaken. And it was connected also to two other great rabbis. We mentioned about Rabbi David Didan and Rabbi Benjamin Kohen Yehonatan. These were very great rabbis. So it was printed in 1919. I can actually see the book was up for auction, or maybe manuscript itself was, I think, back in the year 2019. It's actually featuring the winners auction things. That will be very good for someone to have in the library. He was a very great rabbi of his time, and I recommend everyone to learn more about him. Friends, we've already featured on this series possibly as many as maybe about 100 Tunisian rabbis over here in this series already. He was one of the great rabbis of his time. I think this entreaties in this book included sermons, parables, and also I think it was actually ordered. It was actually put in an order of alphabetical order, if I'm not mistaken. This Torah colossal book was. So it was printed. This book itself in 1919. We're talking about 106 years ago here from time of recording here in 2025. So I recommend everyone to learn more within regards to that. Friends, we're a community here. We're learning about the great rabbis of yesteryear, 4th of Tammuz, Mark Silula of Rabbi Farajalla Seroussi, a great rabbi of Tunisia of his time. He was very much a part of the rabbinic structure of Tunisia and North Africa in that specific day. And so many, many great Torah teachings. He was a close friend of and a rabbinic associate of Rabbi Chaim Huri from the famous Huri dynasty. He was close with other great rabbis. Other great rabbis held him of the highest esteem. So I recommend everyone to learn more. I've already covered more than 1,000 rabbis in the series of great rabbis from yesteryear, from North African, Ottoman countries, Sephardic countries, Spanish countries in of itself. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel now. We're coming close to 7,000 subscribers, which is a phenomenal achievement. If you feel anyone is interested in watching any of these videos, please share these videos to other people also to join the community. And if you descend from any of the great Chachamim we're speaking about, if you look at the playlist of the stories of the Tzaddikim, please send me an email. I would love to hear more information about that, and please forward it to your family members. Also, about to come into Shabbat Parashat Korach over here, recording this from the city of Bet Shemesh in Israel. We're about to come inside this parsha. It's a parsha. We're in the middle of the book of Bamidbar at the moment. So I recommend everyone, you're going to your synagogues, pray for Israel, pray for safety for all over the world. Obviously, we had the troublesome time over the last 2-3 weeks here in Israel. There was a war against Iran. Thank God there's some quiet now over here. So let's hope we're coming into a peaceful era and era of much more. Fourth of so a lot of these notes are used actually from the Hayomi website in today's one, which I recommend. They actually give. They've got covered biography articles on a few thousand rabbis on their website, which I recommend is definitely an excellent source of information. And you can actually see his information of the book, of his teachings. Actually, I think there's actually a picture on the website itself, and where you can actually see the preface of the book. And we actually covered a video on, as it features the name on the preface itself, which I'm going to put on the thumbnail, of Rabbi David Didan. I think we covered a video on him, and also we spoke about Rabbi Chaim Huri, who we mentioned about on this on today's video. We actually mentioned him in another separate video. We dedicated a whole video. On that note, I would like to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. Take care and be well. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching.